Oh, Mrs. Garcia, you're a school counselor and new homeowner and grad student. You're an Ander. National University supports the whole you, so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at nu.edu.
This is VSiN by the Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We are back, hour number 3. VSiN by the Books. Dave Ross here at Circus Sports Baptist, Las Vegas, Nevada. He is Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Jensen, before we get to our fine guest today, of course, it's going to be the Final Four this weekend. Cannot wait for that. Baseball, of course, is now taking center stage. We're going to have a good UFC fight card as well that we talked about a little bit last week. So a lot to get to here, Jensen, on the sporting calendar. But I do believe, without further ado, we do have Tim Murray joining us now here from VSiN Primetime. You can follow Tim, as I do, at @1TimMurray on X. Tim, how are you? How excited are you for this chalky Final Four tomorrow night?
I'm really excited. I mean, you look at, these are the 4 best teams. We've discussed it all week, just the historical nature of these 4 teams, where they stack up. So I know a lot of people have been crying the death of Cinderella. I'm not ready to put the dirt on the grave just yet, but I think all year long, these were the 4 best teams in college basketball. And I think for an NCAA tournament that I know that people have been asking for more upsets, to me, I'm good with these 2 games, and I think we're going to get a phenomenal Final Four, and I can't wait for these 2 games to tip off on Saturday night.
Yeah, Tim, I'm with you. Again, this is why we look to crown a champion, and we appreciate the road to the Final Four, where you do have Cinderella, and it almost happened, right? Colorado State, a bank shot away with Maryland from potentially being in there and having an opportunity. I would even have thrown Ole Miss as a 6th seed if they could have gotten the job done against Michigan State to have that potential. As you categorize where these 4 seeds are at, give me a team that needs a supporting cast more than maybe any other to be able to come to the forefront for that team to advance.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people's eyes gravitate, Jensen, towards Houston. They don't have the superstar like the other 3 teams, I guess you could say. I mean, you could argue that their starting lineup with the depth that they have, and LJ Cryer, the fact that he's been to a national championship, won a national championship, maybe that works to their benefit. But they don't have a Cooper Flagg. They don't have a Walter Clayton Jr. They don't have a John A. Broome. Those guys are going to finish 1, 2, 3 in National Player of the Year when those awards continue to be handed out. So Houston, to me, is that team that, to answer your question, needs a little bit more of that collective help. But look, I think this Houston team is fantastic. They've lost 1 game since they were out in Las Vegas over Thanksgiving weekend. And the same could be said about Duke. I think the 2 best teams in the country are playing each other in the second semifinal. Personally, I think Houston and Duke 1-2 right now, in my mind, in the best teams in the country, Duke being 1 and Houston being 2. So to answer your question about, who needs maybe someone else to step up, a little more collective collaboration, I think you could say could say Houston, but we saw that. We saw what this team is capable of if your star doesn't play all that well. Let's look at the Sweet 16. LJ Cryer was not shooting well, and Milos Uzan steps up and was phenomenal. Gets the game-winning bucket, has some big-time shots. So, look, I think the second semifinal, not to say that I'm not excited about, the rematch of Florida and Auburn, but to me, Houston and Duke, a game we saw last year in the Sweet 16, now we get it in the Final Four. To me, that's the game that my eyes immediately got fixated on, because I think that's going to be the best game of the night.
Tim, we talked so much about coaching leading up to March Madness. And now that we get to the Final Four here, I wonder, is there truly that coaching advantage that you would assume with the veteran guys like Pearl versus Golden, first time for Golden getting there, and then certainly for Shire now, for Duke, even though, yes, he's got all the talent, still a young coach against a guy like Kelvin Sampson's kind of been there, done that. Is there coaching advantages here for Houston and Auburn with that experience?
I do think maybe a little bit, Dave, but I wouldn't get too carried away by it because, look, John Shire, I think, has shown, how capable he is. I've been impressed by, look, as you mentioned, yes, they have 3 pros in Flagg, Knipple, and Malawak on that roster. There's no doubt about it. So they have more talent, arguably, than anyone left in the field. But I have been impressed by what we've seen from John Shire and Todd Golden. You think back to the end of the Texas Tech game where he makes a beautiful decision where they're going to foul, force Texas Tech to make some 1-on-1s. It works out perfectly. They miss 2 front ends, opens the door, leaves the door cracked, however you want to say, and they're able to hit some big threes and come back from 9 down in the final 3 minutes. So I certainly would give a slight edge to Pearl and Kelvin Sampson in the regard of having a little bit of that experience, right? Both of those coaches have coached as a head coach in the Final Four, but it's not like any of these guys, from a Division I standpoint, because I know Bruce Pearl won some D2 national titles, has cut down the nets winning a national title on this level. So, yes, Kelvin Sampson and Bruce Pearl have been here before, but none of them have cut down the net. So I would say I give them a slight edge, but not ultimately where I think it leads to a pick one way or the other, in my opinion, because of the coaching situation.
Tim, this will obviously take place in San Antonio tomorrow night, and that does give Houston a boost. We've seen 9 previous teams that have played in their home state win that Final Four game. Does this game have to stay in the 60s for Houston to pull the upset? Because I think Dave and I have kind of workshopped this throughout the week that John Shire is completely fine with his stars being able to run and gun and force Kelvin Sampson's crew to have that offensive performance of their year. Is that where you kind of see it? And maybe does that lend you towards an underplay in that second game?
So I would have said yes, but the second round win over Gonzaga changes my mind a little bit because we saw that this is a team in Houston that is capable of going punch for punch from an offensive standpoint with a very strong offense. Now, Duke is the number 1 offense in the country, and Gonzaga is a top 10 offense. But to me, the second round victory over Gonzaga kind of opened my eyes saying, hey, this team is capable of, if you want to have a higher scoring affair, they're capable of doing that. And I don't think in recent years they necessarily were. Now, to bring it back a little bit, I do think it would benefit Houston to make this a little bit uglier, to make this that game, as you pointed out, in the 50s and 60s. Look, last year, these 2 teams played in the Sweet 16. Jamal Shedd obviously got hurt, which was a huge loss for Houston. I think the reason they ultimately bowed out to this Duke team, but that game was held in the 50s and had just 56 possessions. So I do think Houston would prefer to make it in the mud, but I wouldn't say it's a necessary, if Houston wins and covers, it has to be an under, but I would say it's more likely an under than not. But that second round win over a Gonzaga team that, profiled as a top 10 team, 6th in the country in offensive efficiency, I do think the 81-76 win over Gonzaga, to me, opened my eyes a little bit, saying, hey, if they wanted to make this a shootout, this Houston team is capable. Not preferable, but they are capable of making this a run. But ultimately, I have not played the total, guys. But, yeah, I would lead looking more towards the under than the over here in this particular game.
All right, paging Dr. Murray. I got to know if I can play a John A. Broome total of 20 or more at minus $1.20 at DraftKings right now. Is he a decoy? Is he really going to be the same guy that was up there for Player of the Year?
I think so. He said all along that, his elbow's good to go. And if you look back to when these 2 teams played in that game at Auburn back in early February, 18 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. So he still filled up the stat sheet. It wasn't the most efficient game. 7 of 16 from, inside the arc, went 1 of 3 from long range. So obviously, heading into this game, heading into this weekend, let's be honest, the biggest concern from an injury standpoint is John A. Broome and his elbow and how is he going to be. I think that this guy with a week 2, rested up, everything he said whether he's lying or not. Jensen, you can speak to this more so than you and I can, being a former pro athlete. Like, I think this dude is going to be ready to go. He is going to more than likely finish runner-up to Cooper Flagg for National Player of the Year. So I don't know if he's going to be vintage, John A. Broom, but I'm not necessarily racing to play under on him because I think still he's going to tough it out and be able to have some buckets in this spot.
All right, buddy. We appreciate all your insight throughout basketball season. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up one of the great stops in all minor league baseball. How did this not happen when Chris Rose was interviewing people, especially players in spring training? How does Kinston, North Carolina, not come up as a top minor league spot for guys making their way to the show?
I know, it's ridiculous, man. Historic Ranger Stadium, no love for the K-Tribers down there. That Bojangles, I think, in the parking lot of the team hotel. God. I mean, it had everything. Beautiful, lovely beds. So, and that I think there's a plaque still down there from the 2011 Frederick Keys National, the championship we won in the Carolina League. So, no love for the K-Tribe, Jensen. That was ridiculous.
Sounds like
blasphemy.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a pretty good time down there, Tim. Before we let you go, though, who's playing Monday night? Give me your teams that we're going to see in the final.
Well, 14 straight favorites have won, so obviously you just need to put a money line parlay together, and that's just the way to roll. But I'm going to be crazy, and I'm going to say it's Auburn and Houston on Monday night. So I do like Houston plus the points. Auburn not as strong, I guess, but I'll say Monday night we get Auburn, we get Houston, and maybe we get those upsets we've been craving this NCAA tournament on Saturday.
How about that? That qualifies as chaos for the other two number one seeds to play Monday night. Tim, we appreciate you all season long, my friend.
Gentlemen, appreciate it as always. See ya.
There he is, one Tim Murray on X. Check him out, of course, on VSiN Primetime on the network. Come on back. Daily Diamond is next.
You're tuned in to VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN by the Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis here, and a full slate of Major League Baseball today. Only 5 games on the docket yesterday. So we're back to being spoiled with Major League Baseball on a Friday. So without further ado, it's time for our Daily Diamond. All right, Jensen, let's get it started. Something you've had earmarked all week here. Finally back in the friendly confines today. We got to check that wind, see if it's blowing in or blowing out. What do you like today with the Padres and the Cubs?
Yeah, it may not matter, Dave, because you have the two top offenses as far as hits go. The Cubs leading Major League Baseball with 84 total hits. The Padres tied for second with 65. So the Vanderbilt math tells me that's 149 hits. Conversely, though, Dave, the Cubs will be facing the best Major League Baseball pitching staff via team ERA at $1.57. Also 3 shutouts from the San Diego Padres thus far. Something has to give. I have a feeling we get offense today. Total right now is 7, though. You got to be kidding me.
You know where that wind is. That tells you, without even looking, for all of us that lived in Chicago or have been to Chicago for me many years, you know that means that wind is blowing in at Wrigley. Does that deter you at all?
I'm going to wait and see a little bit closer to game time. But boy, you got 2 offenses humming right now. Wow. That wind better be blowing in like 20, 25 miles an hour. Cause boy, there's been some offense.
How about this? It's juiced to the under at $1.25. Wow. Plus money on the over. Now, again, 7 gets you push. You got to get to 8 to win. But that tells me that wind is howling today off the lake there at Wrigley. Okay, what about a Brave New World? Because it did not go well in their opening West Coast road trip.
Yeah, no, okay. So the Braves get to come home after an off day yesterday. By the way, they got in at 5:45 a.m. Yesterday. You want to talk about adding salt to the wound. All right, so Atlanta hosting Miami. They will open their home slate at Truist Park, and it's been a pretty good run. Just go back to last year. They did win the season series 9-4, including a 5-2 clip at Truist Park, outscoring the Marlins 56-42 in the season series. Sometimes, Dave, you just got to get home. You got to get in front of your fans. You got to feel good, sleep in your own bed, eat, at your favorite restaurants, and then, okay, everything will be fine. So an early lead would certainly help Atlanta today. Looking at where that number is, 7.5 is the total. They are a behemoth, minus $2.45 favorite for that. So very intrigued to see what the Atlanta Braves do early against Max Meyer and the Marlins tonight.
Yeah, Schwellenbach right now, as you mentioned, 245 is the money line price. Run line price, would that be something that interests you at $1.08? If you think they can win by 2 or more, of course, they've got that.
You got to get a win.
You're only getting 8 ABs to get that work done too.
Yeah, they would be probably a money line parlay piece, if anything, because you get a couple scoreless up there from Miami. You think, oh, we're gonna do it. We're gonna keep it going. So yeah, we got to get Atlanta right.
Yeah, let's not get greedy with the run line here. Get a win when you have 0 to start the year. We mentioned it early in the program today. Big series going to happen today, starting today in the city of brotherly shove. What do you make of the Dodgers coming to Philly?
It's been a house of horrors for the Dodgers, including last year. They were 1-5. Phillies taking care of business last year, including the Phillies sweeping the Dodgers at home July 9th through the 11th, outscored them 19-5. This will be Yoshi Yamamoto who gets to start tonight. First career start against Philadelphia, and Dave, first career start at Citizens Bank Park. Ooh. Get ready, my friend. One of the more hostile environments, if not one of the most hostile environments for a road team coming in. No Freddie Freeman, as you mentioned. Interested to see what Doc Roberts throws out there from a lineup tonight. Reminds
me of the old Colin Quinn joke on SNL years ago, and he was talking about which form? I can't remember which Japanese pitcher it was for the Yankees back in the day. But he said, you don't need an interpreter to know what they're saying at Yankee Stadium, and you don't need to know what they're saying at Citizens Park Bank. They're going to be saying some nasty things to you, Yamamoto, so I hope you don't understand English today because they're not going to be nice to you there. You've got a V for Vendetta. Is that Justin Verlander?
Yeah. Justin Verlander in his career against the Seattle Mariners has been quite good. The numbers there bear it out. 22-10, sub-3 ERA, averaging almost 10 strikeouts per 9. This will only be his second start, though, at Oracle Park, formerly AT&T Park, where many moons ago, my friend, he was pitching for the Detroit Tigers in 2008, 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs. So, gosh, kind of a lot's happened since then. But, hey, sometimes you look in these handicapping markets for a guy that has really handled an opponent, and he has done that throughout his career. So, good spot if you're looking to back Justin Verlander tonight. Giants right now, minus 162 on the money line, and that total at 7.5. Again, handicapping the offenses, too. Very spacious Oracle Park. That is going to be, an afternoon affair there, 4:35.
Yeah.
So it'll be 1:35 local time. Again, ball travel a little bit better during the day there. If you get down to night games, something to factor in, that marine layer definitely helps the pitchers out on both sides.
What do you make of San Francisco early on? I think they get lost in the shuffle a little bit with the great starts here by the Dodgers and the Padres, certainly. Is this staying power? Because I think people out there in the Bay feel like they could be that surprise in the National League.
You look at kind of the differentials here, right? And 5-1 start, winners of 4 in a row, plus 14 of the run diff, and only allowed 16 runs, okay, in 6 games. And that's probably the thing that stands out most is the rotation has been quite good. Logan Webb really answering the bell here in his last start against Houston. And so let's see what Justin Verlander does as they will have their home opener here at Oracle Park this afternoon.
Man, just keeps getting it done. JV, V for Vendetta. What else do you have with the SEC maybe that relates to the Daily Diamond today?
All right, so our first foray into college baseball. The calendar turns to April, Dave, and that means we are 2 short months away from Middle America. That is Omaha, the College World Series, and some early handicap. Obviously, Lou Finicaro, our great friend yesterday, a big follower of college baseball. The SEC and the ACC will dominate throughout not only their conference schedules, but into the postseason when we get to regionals and super regionals. Here are teams that I've kind of circled within the SEC. Now, these are odds both to win the SEC regular season and then also some futures looking at their potential to win the College World Series. So LSU, I feel, is a great look for not only the SEC regular season, but also getting them at plus 750 a team with perennial powers and will probably be hosting not only a regional, but will likely be a national seed to be able to host a super regional. Ole Miss, who I'm actually going to be in Oxford this coming week, so I'll have my eye on both the Masters on Sunday, and we'll be calling the Ole Miss and Tennessee game there from Oxford. So we'll be double screening it, but Ole Miss, you get 2 cracks. Ole Miss to win the SEC. They're only 3 games behind people, or 2 games behind for the top spot in the SEC right now at 6-3. 50-1 to win the conference and 50-1 to win it all. Absolutely take 2 bites at the apple if you'd like. And so those would be some value plays out there for me. Alabama also in there as well. They have started off pretty solidly. They and Ole Miss both a couple of games back at the top spot in the SEC.
You know, Jensen, I'm looking at the futures board here for the College World Series. Again, if you're watching on DraftKings, that's winner without the Jersey colleges, so know your jurisdictions there. Tennessee is the favorite here at 4-1. LSU is the second betting choice at 750. Arkansas at 9-1. So we have to get to 10-1 to get out of the SEC with Clemson, and then we are right back to it with Georgia at 11-1. So again, we joke it just means more, but we're dominating football, we're dominating basketball. Now the SEC, are they going to dominate baseball?
Well, so a way to handicap this for people that are new to college baseball, there will be 8 teams that get to Omaha. And mostly you'll look at a lot of SEC schools in that top 10 that will have a chance to be national seeds, meaning that they will host a regional. If they advance, they will host a super regional. And so how that bracket shapes out, you do want to try and have some long shots that potentially could get through. So you're thinking of a UC Irvine that I think is 100-1 right now. Dallas Baptist, always a perennial power from down in Texas, 100-1. And that way, once you get to that double elimination in College World Series play, you've got opportunities that no matter the matchup, from that loser's bracket to the winner's bracket, to be able to have teams that will automatically get through.
That's fantastic. So you're going to be double dipping, one eye on Augusta while you're doing. I mean, that is what a Saturday or Sunday that's going to be shaping up for you.
It's a 3:00 first pitch. So, I mean, you want to talk about just being pulled in every direction possible.
So I can't wait for the group text on that one. If you're betting on baseball, make sure you're getting the best odds with ProfitX. ProfitX is the first peer-to-peer sports exchange in the entire U.S. It's available in 40 and more states. That means you're betting against other fans, not the sports book. So it's going to give you an edge on average 10 to 20% better odds. So you can even request your own odds if you'd like to do that route too. So download ProfitX today, use the code VSiN, and you're going to get up to $300 in profit cash. So again, use that code VSIN. When we come back, it's time to talk NBA with Zach Cohen. He is next when you come back with us. And again, we will get to our best bets before we're said and done here on this edition of VSiN by the Books.
VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We continue the Friday edition VSiN by the Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. Let's talk some more round ball here, college and NBA, with our guy Zach Cohen. You can follow Zach, one of the best X handles out there. Never change, Zach. Betting on X.
Don't let Adam Shine tell you any different. Not at all.
No bullying, Zach. It's a fantastic handle. Joins us now here in the Progressive Guest Line. Let's get to the Final Four first before we dip back into the NBA a little bit, because we had Tim Murray on earlier this hour. He's looking at the dogs, maybe for Auburn and Houston. It feels crazy to say, Zach. Those would be upsets for the number 1 seeds here in Houston and Auburn. But do you think we might get a little bit? I know it's hard not to be more chalky with 4 number 1 seeds, but the less of the chalk for the overall and the big number 1s.
Yeah, I'm with Tim in these games. I took Auburn, just a little small play on plus 135, just to have a little something on that game. I'm a little bit nervous about the way Janai Broom's going to play after injuring his arm last game. I thought it was visibly, banged up when he came back in against Michigan State. He did knock down a 3, but I feel stronger about the other game where I took Houston plus 5.5 and I took some money line at plus 222. I just feel really good about the way the Cougars play defense. I think that this is one of the best, 3-point defenses in the nation. They force you to take a lot of bad threes, contested threes late in the shot clock. I think they're going to be able to kind of suck Duke into that in this game. And I think that Tugler is one of the best perimeter wing defenders in the entire nation. He's going to defend Cooper Flagg in this game and probably be the toughest guy that he sees all season long. I think that a lot of talk here right now is that, Flagg might be a little too quick for Roberts. I don't think Roberts is going to guard him that much. And if he does, I still think that Tugler will be there as a help defender. And I think they're going to be able to kind of, bog down the Duke offense. And I think that Houston's offense is really underrated. I think we look at this team like, a defensive-minded team, kind of like those Virginia teams from the last 10 years. And we have seen that under Sampson a little bit. But this is the best offense he's ever had. He has elite guards this year, some guys that could really knock down shots and create offense for themselves. I give this as a close game late. I trust those guards the most out of anyone to create offense.
Music to my ears, Zach, because my bracket is submitted to VSiN.com, does have Houston cutting down the nets. So I love not only that, but the home field advantage, if you will, being in their own backyard there in San Antonio. Okay, I've asked this to everyone this morning, and I'll ask it to you as well. Of the teams here for tomorrow night, whose supporting cast do you focus on that needs to come up, not necessarily clutch, but must be there from start to finish for that team to advance?
I think Florida, just because that's the exact way that they won against Texas Tech, is, some of the role players stepped up. Every single big on that roster played really well against the Red Raiders in a game that they probably should have lost. I know that Clayton hit some big shots, and, that's what everyone's going to be focusing on moving forward. But that team has underperformed to me based on what we saw in the regular season and what we saw in the SEC tournament. It took some role players stepping up, which is what you need at this time of year. So I think it's going to need them. They are a deep team with contributors, and like those guys outside of Clayton are going to need to continue to play well if Florida is going to find a way to do this.
Zach, I'm really intrigued. Been looking at this number all day here for John A. Broome. He's at 20 more points at DraftKings, minus $1.15. You mentioned Cooper Flagg. He's got the same number of 20 or more, and it's minus $1.05. Like, I think people are going to go, oh, I got to bet Cooper Flagg over. But you really do think they're going to be able to defend him. Might that be fool's gold for people out there that want to auto bet Cooper Flagg over 20 points?
So I think they're going to do a really good job on Flagg. Having said that, they might, kind of deploy a strategy where they, just play really good individual defense on him and don't leave guys like Knipple and James open and just kind of shut everything else down. So there's a chance that Flagg, just has a really big role in this game and is taking, contested shots all night. So I can still see him going over, but still not having the greatest game. So I would stay away from the prop there. And I don't know about Broome, just because, like I said, like that arm was dangling last game. If it is healthy, he should really play well in this matchup. But that right arm was just down by the side the entire final 5 minutes of that game.
Yeah, going to be fascinating to see, and I think we get a window into his overall health pretty early in the contest tomorrow night. To the association, Zach, we close in on the end of the regular season and still some shuffling of the deck here out west. We saw the Warriors be able to take care of business against the Lakers last night. You have a play for them also back-to-back against the Nuggets as well.
Yeah, I took the Nuggets money line minus 122 in this game. I know that it's not a far trip from Golden State to play at home here, but I do think that this is a game where the Nuggets really should win. The second night of a back-to-back for Golden State in a game that they really wanted to win last night. All the starters played in the high 30s in minutes, and I think Butler, injured his arm in that game. And I know he came back out and looked fine too, but it was something to keep an eye on. I do think the Nuggets very much need to keep winning some games down the end of down the stretch. I think that they really want the 3 seed. You don't want to have to play, Los Angeles or Golden State. You want to play Memphis in the 3-6 game if you're Denver. So there's incentive to keep winning if you're the Nuggets. The injury report, there's some important guys that are questionable, but I think we're going to see them all go. And I think that a lot of people are going to be on Golden State after what we saw last night. But generally speaking, you want to fade these teams on the second nights of back-to-backs.
Zach, that's something that Jensen and I were talking about in the last segment here. Like, which team would OKC prefer not to play? Like, if it does end up being Golden State against the Lakers, we saw Golden State win last night. Like, who do you think really would provide the best resistance for OKC? Because both those teams, as we know, the sand in the hourglass is going the other way for both certainly the Lakers and the Warriors. Who do you think they prefer not to play?
I don't think they want to see Minnesota. I've hit the Timberwolves twice in the futures market in the Western Conference. I don't think they want to see the Clippers either. I've been kind of saying all week, whoever gets the 7 out of the Minnesota or Los Angeles down there has a real shot at making a run in the Western Conference, and I'd be targeting both those teams on the futures market. If you look at things after March 1st to clean the glass, these are 2 of the top 10 teams in the league. Minnesota, a top 5 team in the league, both offensively and defensively in March. Los Angeles, not too far behind. And I think the Clippers, we're seeing a healthy Kawhi Leonard. We've seen James Harden is not aged whatsoever. And I think that they have who I believe should be the defensive player of the year, Ivica Zubac, who's not really part of the conversation, but just an awesome anchor at the back of the defense, and awesome role players too. So I think Minnesota and Los Angeles are 2 really tough matchups for OKC. They probably want to see the Grizzlies like everybody else does.
All right, Zach, and this is the point of the season where I like to go back and evaluate my futures portfolio. I do have from months ago an exact in the finals of the Cavs and the Thunder at 35-1. I do feel really good that both those teams can get to their respective conference finals. Where's the trip up spot, either in the East or the West? And I'll give you the floor on, whether you want to go to the West and see, if it is one of those teams lower seeded that could jump up and perhaps give someone a headache. But do you feel if we get chaos, is it more in the West or the East?
I think that I've kind of said all season long, I did add Cleveland plus 700, by the way. I think that the one that scares me for the Cavs is a potential second round matchup with the Pacers, who just since December have been a completely different basketball team. There was a really slow start to the year. There was, one of those classic closed door meetings. They changed up their defense a little bit since December, like mid-December. That's a team that's been top 10 in the league in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. I think the Pacers have as good of a rotation as any team in the league in terms of, 1 to 8 or 9. And obviously, playing Tyrese Halliburton in a playoff series is scary. Pascal Siakam is a great player, and they have so many good, role players that just do exactly what they ask of them. So that's the one that would scare me a little bit if you're the Cavs, especially, knowing that you're going to be the number 1. I wouldn't consider, an Eastern Conference Finals loss to the Celtics being tripped up. So that would be my answer there is the Pacers in round 2 for Cleveland.
All right, Zach, you mentioned Defensive Player of the Year award. Draymond Green is minus 340 to win the Defensive Player of the Year. Our own Mitch Moss tweeted out last night, Reggie Miller, quote, Draymond Green guards 1 through 5, and then Mitch just added, I give up. Like, is the narrative just out there, Zach, that we have to give it to Draymond? And Draymond says I'm the best defensive player, so it must be true.
Yeah, and he also said it's like my last chance to win. He's trying to guilt people into him winning now.
What are we doing?
I think that Draymond is one of the most underrated players in the landscape of NBA history to me. Having said that, this is not the year I would be looking to him to win Defensive Player of the Year. I do think, the award is a little bit wide open. I don't think there's a clear winner this year. Like I said, I think Zubac should win. I don't think anybody's talking about him. But I don't think Draymond has a better case than, Dyson Daniels or Lou Dort. And you're seeing him now at minus 340, I think, because there's all the talk of him winning. There was a big strip late in last night's game. That's the type of thing that, and on national television, people don't know what to do with themselves when they see it. It's looking like he's going to win, but yeah, I don't think he should.
I mean, again, Mobley's 4-1, Lou Dort 7-1, Jaren Jackson Jr. 50-1, Dyson Daniels, as you mentioned, 50-1, Draymond minus 340. But you say into a microphone, and people are going to buy it. Zach, appreciate it as always, my friend. Enjoy the games tonight and this weekend. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, guys. You too.
There he is. Give him a follow. The best handle on X, betting on X, with our own Zach Cohen. I mean, Jensen, that's the thing, right? If Draymond says it, it's got to be true. Minus 340, the betting markets reflect it.
Between NFL and NBA, this could be it. This could be the end of the line. The subjectivity reigns supreme, no question about it.
We need criteria. We're trying. We're getting there in some of those markets, but not in all. Let's come on back and give our best bets. That's next year on VSiN by the Books.
VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN by the books, almost the weekend, Jensen, for us. But before we get to that weekend, we do have to get to our best bets. Of course, they are presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. I did want to ask you a question that we got posed on X before we give out some of those official picks. And that question is going to come to us from Larry Matthews Jr., and he's talking about Kevin Gausman. And he says, K-Gauss has quite the home and away splits last year. Is this an anomaly or something we could look to target right away?
Yeah, and I think if you're looking at just the numbers from last year, as I pull them up, and it's an astute observation here by Larry. So last year at home, a 5.02 ERA for Kevin Gausman, but 2.51 on the road. Now, all that being said, still early out of the gate here, and actually one of my official plays today already locked in. If you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, you have this. The Mets on the run line, I believe, is the play today. Home opener here for the Metropolitans. Do think that they do benefit. And also, if you want to target a particular player prop, and Larry brought it up, Juan Soto is a career 8 for 15 against Gausman with 12. Count them, 12 walks. So if you want to play the walk prop, Juan Soto to record a walk, Juan Soto to record a hit, that's a good way to look at it. But Mets on the run line, definitely a play for me today.
When we look at the action today in Major League Baseball, again, we've gone over some of this in the Daily Diamond today. So you've got the Mets in pocket here early. What are you looking for now? Because now we got that week of sample size. Obviously, Sacramento, we can't get on the A's here with them not being at home. But what are you looking for here as we kind of get into week 2 now for some actionable plays from what you've seen in week number 1?
Yeah, certainly. Now you have guys in the rotation getting their second and third time around, and so pitch counts being elevated. If you're looking at the player props on the pitching side, much more availability on the strikeouts and seeing where some of the outs recorded numbers are put into play. Also, when you're thinking about offenses that are off the hot starts, we mentioned San Diego and the Cubs. But that number at 7, it is Shota Imanaga who's going to get his start at home in the home opener there. But the fact that it's hung at 7, and you astutely pointed out, Dave, it's got to tell you the wind is blowing in. So particularly certain ballparks that have that real critical weather angle, always be mindful of that when you're looking at totals too. So speaking of totals, I'll be on another day game today. The over 9 in Boston, Fenway Park, seeing the Red Sox come home, their home opener. Walker Buehler against Eric Fetty. The Cardinals have actually played quite well, but do think we see some offense in that one. We saw Rafi Devers finally get off the schneid. Christian Campbell has been unbelievably hot. Getting his contract extension after just a week in the big leagues. He's been great. Bregman gets a home run yesterday. Red Sox perennially have done quite well at home offensively, so I like the over 9 in that one.
We always talk about it. Sometimes you can make good money on bad teams. The A's have left Sacramento, but they're going to still some rarefied air in Colorado. And I look at that total at 9.5. By the way, minus $1.18 on minus $1.18 on the Athletics. Remember, no official city associated with that vagabond group right now. 9.5. Does that feel low to you at Coors Field?
I'm, just trying to see if any of the numbers. It's pretty even on the handle. 50 to both sides, 50%, I should say. Some of the bets, ironically, more on the under 9.5, which is a bit puzzling. Considering that you're still going to get the thin air there. So we'll see what happens when it gets a little bit closer to game time and some lineups get released here. But yeah, no official play for me, Dave, on that. But it is peculiar not seeing a 10 by default there at Coors Field.
It just jumps out, and you're like, I cannot believe I'm not getting at least 10 or more in a Colorado and A's game at Coors Field. So right now sitting there at 9.5. Let me give you a couple of my UFC plays. Kennedy and Chuck Wu, that fight has been canceled here, so that was one of my official plays, but that fight is now off the board. Joanderson Brito, going to play him by KO, TKO, or DQ. He's at plus $1.20 against Pat Sabatini. Look, Sabatini's got a great trick. It's wrestling. If this fight stays standing, his chin, not so good. So Brito by KO, I get a little bit squeamish if this fight does go down to the ground where Sabatini wants it. Brito could get you via submission there as well. Sometimes, again, if you want to look inside the distance plays, not a bad way to go if you're on the Brito side like I am today. Chang Ho Lee, I do like him at $1.35 here. Sometimes you look why fights are made. Why are you on the main card? I think it's a pretty good spot here. You even get a better price right now at DraftKings at minus $1.25. So I'm going to back Lee here at that small price point. And talked about it here with Diana Belbicha. I'm a big fan of hers, but not against Diana Barbosa here, the Brazilian. I'm going to play the under in this fight at minus $1.35 because if Barbosa runs through Belbicha, then that's going to normally, you would think, happen inside of 2.5 rounds. I don't think that this is a fight that goes to the cards, and I certainly don't want to lay 1,000 to win 100 here with Barbosa. So I'm going to play that way at minus $1.35. And again, Jensen, final four. Have you gotten home yet with any of those official picks so far?
I will likely lock in either tonight or tomorrow morning. I do want to give it just a little bit more time, see if any later money arrives here, pushing one way or another. But I do get emboldened by hearing our man, Zach Cohen, betting on X. Give him a follow on Twitter. I do love that he likes a little bit of the money line there. Again, when I looked at it and I tried to workshop different iterations because I kept coming back to all the one seeds, and I know people are taking flack for, oh, you picked all the chalk. Well, hey, we want to be right, Dave. That's why we're here. We're trying to give you the winners. We got the winners home. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is if I liked him then, which I really did, I got to like him now because I picked them over Duke and I picked them winning the national title in my bracket. So in all likelihood, I'm getting home just anxious to see if there's a little bit more money. If it pushes Houston a bit higher, I can't see it. I'm with Mike Palm. I don't think it stays at 6 for long if it even gets there.
And again, even Auburn right now, I know you've got tickets, so you're in great position here for that Final Four. Even if Auburn wins, it might be the shortest one that you have, but you pretty much, your bases are covered, right?
Yeah, right. Plus 440 in pocket there for Auburn, 13-1 on Florida. I believe a 12-1 on Duke, and then a 13-1 on Houston. So I joked, earlier in the week that with Carl, I said anyone but Auburn, and it's a great day on Monday night.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out, certainly for the national championship coming up on Monday night. I'm with you. I'm going to probably be on both these dogs here with Houston 5.5. You can find those 5.5. It's only 5 here at Circa, 5.5 right now on DraftKings. Very quickly, your golf card that you have out now, are you going to add anything to it here? And, of course, we're going to have so much talk about Augusta next week. Do you look to fade some of the bigger names that maybe their view isn't to win this week down there at the Valero? It's really to fine-tune it for next week.
I may take a stab. Let's see where everyone is thus far. I may take a stab at Maverick McNeely and just seeing right now he's even through 3. So just 4 shots back. Oh, Sam Ryder already +2 through 5. So
bam!
Kashmir Keith, you nailed it. You talked about it. The regression is certainly there. Right now, low man is Trey Mullinax, -3 through 5 holes. Ben Griffin, Matt Wallace, and Rick Norlander at 2 under. Those are your top guys so far at Valero this morning.
And look at those updated odds right now for you. Sam Ryder's now moved to the second betting choice behind Kashmir Keith at +650. Again, it's becoming an auto play for me. It's not always going to work out, but I think if you do it the majority of the time, it will. And that is, it's so hard to back up a big round on the PGA Tour like Sam Ryder did yesterday with that 9 under. So I played a head-to-head against Carson Young today. So you're telling me he's 2 over already. That's a really good start for that angle. So, again, this isn't so much a play on Young. I would have looked at anybody going up against Sam Ryder today. If he shoots even par, 1 under, 2 under, that's a pretty darn good round. So, certainly picking up what you're putting down there. Again, for the weekend, anything else? We've got UFC. We've got our golf plays. We've got our Final Four plays, our baseball plays. Anything tonight that might change your opinion for tomorrow in the weekend slate in baseball?
Probably not. Again, the betting splits really help, and I usually like to wait until lineups come out in certain instances. But the data, as I said, that Mets one really stood out to me, as well as the Red Sox over. Also, the Orioles on the run line today at +154. A little bit more risk there, but kind of like where that lineup's at, especially against Seth Lugo. Also, 2 NBA unders, the back-to-back for the Lakers, under 220 playing the Pelicans. The Pelicans are awful. And then I did take a stab at the Mavs and the Clippers under 225 as well for the NBA.
G-Bank, of course, is upping the ante right now up to a $750 bonus for new G-Bank Visa Signature Card customers. New customers who spend $1,000 in eligible purchases within 90 days from opening up an account, they get a $250 bonus right then and there. In addition, If you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the first 30 days of that opening up that account, you're going to get another $500 right then and there. That's $750 total. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval, terms and conditions, they do apply. Jensen, great stuff all week, my friend. We will do it again on Monday. But everybody, you don't have to go anywhere. We got you covered next. It's a numbers game with Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidwin right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.